What happens when one of the world's most successful music companies tries to build the ultimate global pop group only to watch it get caught in the crossfire of a culture war it helped create? This isn't a story about a single scandal. This is a case study in confusion, ambition, and the volatile moment an industry faces when its own rules begin to blur. The group at the center is KATSEYE, and their journey from a Netflix documentary to their official debut has become a lightning rod for a much bigger question. What happens to K-pop when it goes truly global? To understand the landscape KATSEYE entered, we have to look at their origin, which is fully documented. KATSEYE is a 6-member global girl group, the result of a high-stakes partnership between HYBE, the Korean powerhouse behind BTS, and the American label Geffen Records. The members, Daniela, Lara, Megan, Sophia, and Yoonchae, were selected from over 120,000 applicants through a reality competition program called the Debut Dream Academy. Their formation process was turned into a Netflix docuseries, Popstar Academy. On paper, this was a groundbreaking, seamless fusion of K-pop's rigorous training system with Western market ambition. But from the very beginning, this hybrid identity created a paradox that online fandoms immediately began to dissect. The group was trained under the HYBE system, a method synonymous with K-pop, yet they were based in Los Angeles, sang primarily in English, and boasted a lineup with only one Korean member, Yoonchae. This setup sparked immediate and relentless debate across social media platforms like Twitter, TikTok, and online forums. Was KATSEYE a K-pop group, a global pop group, an experiment? This wasn't just idle chatter. It became the foundational layer of their public perception. Even J-pop, founder of Rival Entertainment, had publicly wrestled with this label for his own global project, HYBE, stating it was not a K-pop group. So KATSEYE debuted into a space where their very classification was up for public debate. This lack of a clear category, this identity crisis engineered by their own company's strategy, set the stage for every controversy that followed. It created a scenario where every creative choice could be judged through multiple, often conflicting lenses. The discourse escalated rapidly with their debut promotions. When KATSEYE released their early teasers and performances, a common feature of online K-pop fandom culture kicked into overdrive: the comparison grid. Side-by-side edits flooded social media, with users pointing out visual or stylistic similarities between KATSEYE's concepts and those of established groups like HYBE and GIDLE. In pop music, concepts like bold fashion, red carpets, or powerful aesthetics are universal tools. But within the highly competitive and visually specific world of K-pop, where originality is fiercely guarded by fans, perceived similarity often triggers the first wave of online criticism. What followed was a textbook example of how digital fan culture operates. KATSEYE's fledgling fandom, the Icons, engaged in these debates, sometimes defensively, pushing back against criticisms by highlighting the commonality of such concepts in pop at large. This back and forth is a normal, if volatile, part of the online ecosystem for any new group. However, for KATSEYE, these debates were amplified by that initial identity confusion. The criticism wasn't just "this looks similar," it often carried an undercurrent of "who are you to do this?" The conversation frequently shifted from pure comparison to deeper questions of authenticity and belonging within the pop landscape they were navigating. This brings us to the most sensitive and widely discussed layer of online discourse: the treatment of the members themselves, which has been highlighted in broader media commentary about the pressures of modern pop stardom. The members of KATSEYE have been vocal in interviews about the intense scrutiny they face. They've spoken broadly about the pressures of social media, the volume of comments, and the challenge of being constantly analyzed. As a group marketed on global diversity with members holding American, Swiss, Filipino, and Korean backgrounds, they also enter a space where discussions about culture, representation, and identity are inevitable and often fraught. Furthermore, the presence of a minor, Yoonchae, in a group performing mature, mainstream pop concepts has sparked nuanced conversations among fans and commentators about duty of care, styling, and the well-documented pressures on young performers in the industry. It's critical to note that these are discussions and concerns raised within fan communities and cultural commentary, not necessarily formal, publicized scandals covered by major news outlets, but their prevalence online shapes the environment around the group. This is the chaotic reality of their debut. They are simultaneously celebrated as pioneers of a new global model and subjected to the immense, often contradictory pressures that come from existing between two worlds. So, where does the responsibility lie? Analytical criticism has consistently pointed back to HYBE's strategic ambiguity. The company has leveraged the engaging fan-driven mechanics of the K-pop system, appearances on music shows, relay dances, docuseries storytelling to build KATSEYE's core audience. Yet, their official positioning is squarely as a global girl group targeting Western charts and playlists. This best of both worlds strategy is commercially ingenious but culturally precarious. It asks the K-pop fan base to invest the same energy and passion while simultaneously telling them the group operates outside the traditional social contract and rules of that industry. It asks the global mainstream audience to understand a group forged in a famously intense training system they may know little about. The girls themselves are the ones navigating this no man's land. They exhibit the polish of HYBE training but are encouraged to express the individualistic, outspoken authenticity prized in Western pop. This can lead to a perception gap. What might be seen as confident self-expression in one context can be viewed as a breach of protocol in another. The double standard becomes apparent. Foreign members in traditional K-pop groups are often given grace as they adapt to Korean culture. KATSEYE as a whole exists in a perpetual state of adaptation, with expectations pulling them in multiple directions at once. When mature concepts are performed by established K-pop acts, they are analyzed as artistry. When KATSEYE does it, the conversation can quickly expand to larger questions about exploitation in the industry and the ethics of global pop production. The story of KATSEYE, therefore, is bigger than any single rumor or online debate. It is a real-time experiment and a reflection point. They are the vanguard of HYBE's stated mission to globalize the idol system. Their success or failure, and more importantly, the nature of their journey, provides critical data. Is the global music market ready for idol groups that are culturally hybrid in their very foundation? More pointedly, can the incredibly passionate but often rigid culture of online K-pop fandom make space for groups that deliberately exist outside its traditional boundaries? KATSEYE has achieved significant milestones: a major Netflix series, a debut under huge labels, and instant international visibility that many artists work for years to attain. Yet, their path highlights the growing pains of an industry in transition. The controversies surrounding them are less about specific, verified missteps and more about the friction generated when a powerful system tries to expand its definition. They are not simply a girl group, they are a proposition, and the volatile, passionate, and often critical online discourse that surrounds them is the sound of that proposition being publicly stress-tested. The ultimate analysis of KATSEYE won't be found in a tabloid headline, but in the answer to this question: does their model represent the future of global pop, or is it a cautionary tale about the limits of blending cultures in an era of fiercely divided digital fandoms?